Some developments from the south. Israeli tanks and troops are pushing deeper into Rafah city. They're being backed by warplanes and drones helping the advance. Palestinians say tanks have moved into at least 5 neighbourhoods in Rafah overnight. East of Rafah, Israeli airstrikes have killed at least 10 people. 30 others were injured. Casualties were also reported in the al-Mawasi, a so-called evacuation zone. Many of the injured have been taken to the European hospital in Khan Yunis, which is already overcrowded and under-resourced. Airstrikes were also reported in the north of the Gaza Strip and central areas. Rising temperatures in overcrowded camps are causing severe outbreaks of disease across the Gaza Strip. The UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, says 2/3 of the Strip's water and sanitation facilities have been damaged or destroyed in 8 months of Israel's war. It's already documented hundreds of thousands of cases of acute hepatitis, respiratory infections and diarrhea. Let's get an update on the situation on the ground and speak to Al Jazeera's Hani Mahmoud, who's in Deir el-Balah in central Gaza for us. So, Hani, Israeli forces pushing deeper into southern Gaza. Bring us up to speed with what's been happening.
Yes, Folly. Well, all the way until the early hours of this morning, the Israeli military continued to push deeper into the central part of Rafah city, and this has been going on for the past couple of weeks and since the beginning of the military operations in the city. Not only we're seeing the southern part of the city, that's the Philadelphia corridor, being taken over by the Israeli military, Rafah crossing not only being shut but also completely damaged and incinerated. The departure hall, the main entry point and exit point of the Rafah crossing has been destroyed. All of this coupled with heavy artilleries and tank shells and the heavy presence of the quadcopter there are in the skies of Rafah city, pushing further people into further internal displacement. We're looking right now, according to what UNRWA reported, about 65,000 people remain in Rafah city, and the only reason these people are in the city is because there is no elsewhere for them to go to seek protection and to seek shelter. The western part of the city, mainly the evacuation zone, al-Mawasi, is not safe. It's been repeatedly targeted, and there is a risk of people leaving their residential homes, moving all the way to the evacuation zone. That's al-Mawasi, the western part of the city. The vast majority of people, remember, Rafah was the home of 1.5 million displaced Palestinians since the initial weeks of this genocidal war, all pushed into the western part of the city, to Khan Yunis, Mawasi zone, to the central area that's becoming right now overcrowded, running out of space, and public facilities and infrastructure don't have the capacity to accommodate this large number of people. But the Israeli military keeps creating tragedies on the ground. The vast majority of the residential buildings are either severely damaged or completely destroyed. Public facilities are gone. There is no public services remain in the Rafah city, all eliminated. There are reports of the bodies that are still missing and trapped under the rubble of these bombed residential buildings in the western part of the city, in the central area. The eastern part of Rafah city is completely razed, including the agricultural land that's at the eastern part of Salah ad-Din road, just leaving no signs of life there. Feed into one important conclusion that people have been frustrated about. They've been talking about that everything is happening to make Gaza uninhabitable. And the example that we're seeing and the footage from eastern Rafah, all a proof of what the Israeli military is doing.
Yeah, and people also now having to deal with the outbreak of diseases because of, the proximity and the conditions that they're living in. Tell us about the situation when it comes to these diseases. Where are people affected the most?
Well, the vast majority of the people here, Folly, are inside tents here. And with the rising temperature anywhere across the Gaza Strip, the weather is dry, the weather is hot, and now there's humidity going on because particularly at the areas that are very close to the coastal road. And this has been creating favorite conditions for the outbreak of diseases. And also, we have another tragedy going on here. The hospitals here are overcrowded. And sometimes many of the injuries and the patients inside the hospital are being discharged from the hospital. They end up going to where their families are staying, inside tents. And that just aggravates their health conditions, making it very difficult. A lot of them are at risk of losing their life because the very environment they are staying in, inside tents, not only is causing the outbreak of disease, but they are not fully cured. And inside a tent with the rising heat, with the difficult living conditions and the lack of sanitation, just make it very difficult for them to recover from their injury, from whatever they are suffering from. Their health conditions are getting worse in each passing day, particularly a vulnerable group. Here we're looking at women and children, women who are either breastfeeding or pregnant. They suffer also from malnutrition, but also children, not only malnutrition, but also the trauma and the spread of enforced starvation and dehydration that is causing also public health problems for the vast majority of people. Many of the cases documented here by the hospital management here at the Al-Aqsa Hospital, many of the cases by the WHO that are warning of the spread of more diseases because of the living conditions coupled with the changing of weather conditions here, particularly at this time of the year. Summertime, it's very hot, very humid, not the very good environment needed at these difficult times.
Thank you very much, Hani, for that. Al Jazeera's Hani Mahmoud reporting there live from Deir el-Balah in central Gaza.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.